To discuss this now with Michael Lynk. He's a former UN Special Rapporteur for Human Rights in the occupied Palestinian territory and a professor emeritus of law at Western University, and joins us live from London, Ontario in Canada. Thank you so much, Professor, for being with us on the program today. So now that the UN has declared that Israel is committing genocide, what other steps could we see the body take within its own capacity to hold Israel accountable?
Well, let's be clear. I mean, it isn't actually the UN that is saying genocide. It is the UN's Independent Commission of Inquiry that was set up by the Human Rights Council. There still are steps to take in order for the UN itself to say genocide. But this is one more brick in the wall, if you like. We're moving us closer and closer to a recognition by the United Nations, either by the Secretary General or by the General Assembly, that this is indeed genocide. And I think this report, as careful as it is crafted, as rich as it is in facts, and as detailed as it is in following international law, will be, I think, central to the debates in the UN General Assembly during its autumn session over the next 3 months, and in the resolutions that will come forth. And there may well be a resolution that's going to endorse the genocide report issued today and put the UN on record as stating this is now a genocide. It will have, I think, a significant impact in the global south, where it's going to meet resistance, I think, are in countries in Europe and North America.
Do you make anything of the timing of this decision, given that it has happened days before the UNGA, and can it lead to, for example, Israel being removed from the floor of the UNGA?
Well, remember now there are going to be two vital issues involving Israel during this fall session of the General Assembly: this issue of genocide and Israel's refusal to consider a permanent ceasefire, which the UN has been calling for almost 2 years. The other issue is that a year ago, in September 2024, the UN General Assembly passed overwhelmingly a resolution accepting that the Israeli occupation was unlawful, and that Israel had exactly one year to end its occupation fully. That 1 year deadline ends on this Thursday, the 18th of September. Israel, of course, is not going to obey that direction coming from the General Assembly. So I think we're setting ourselves up for a question of whether or not Israel can keep its credentials. And this is probably going to cause one of the greatest, I think, crises for the United Nations. It has obviously the full support of the Trump administration, but whether or not that can hold back the tide of criticism of Israel's conduct and its refusal to obey international law, I suspect sometime next year we'll see a move by the global south, if conditions don't improve, to have Israel's credentials removed, and it can no longer sit in the General Assembly.
Many would say that would be too little, too late. When you look at the situation in Gaza City today, and the actions of Israel, for example, most recently in Doha, where do you see this leading to?
Well, it's going to be a showdown between Israel and the United States on one hand, the global south on the other hand, and other countries in the global north who are critical of Israel, but perhaps fearful of wanting to offend the Trump administration in their usual indecision with respect to what to do with regards to Israel. Yes, we're moving towards states in Europe and North America recognizing the state of Palestine. And that's important at one level for these countries to recognize that the Palestinians have a legitimate claim of sovereignty over East Jerusalem, the West Bank, and Gaza. But at another level, it's entirely too little too late. There are already 360 illegal Israeli settlements in East Jerusalem and the West Bank, housing some 750,000 Israeli settlers. And that number grows by about 25,000 a year. How can you ever create a Palestinian state in the midst of such dense civilian settlements created by the illegal occupier? I fear that the real issue is that the global north, Europe and Canada, Japan, Australia, do not have any strategy on how to force Israel to recognize the Palestinian state and allow Palestinian self-determination. And as long as they have no game plan on how to confront Israel, we're going to see conditions on the ground getting worse and worse.
You mentioned the occupied West Bank. Most recently, during Rubio's visit, in fact, we saw him take place in the formation of some of those illegal settlements in the occupied West Bank, which is another very grave issue that is a barrier to essentially creating a two-state solution. How seriously are world leaders, most specifically the United States, taking this peace process moving forward to ensure both the peace of Israel, the peace of Palestine, and the wider geopolitical peace of the region?
Well, first of all, we haven't had a peace process really even in name since John Kerry tried to launch one in 2013 and 2014. And let's recall, when he launched that peace process in 2013, trying to put the full weight of the Obama administration behind it, he had said to Congress that unless there is a resolution and a Palestinian state emerging within the next 18 to 24 months, it's all over. And we've had continual cries over the last 30 years that we're 5 minutes to midnight. Antonio Guterres said that earlier this year, that we are on the edge of not having the ability to create a Palestinian state. I fear that 5 minutes to midnight has come and gone a long time ago, and there really is no more grounding for a two-state solution. Really, what we have to start considering is an alternative future, an alternative state where Israelis and Palestinians live together in one state with equal rights. That's really the only way that if each regards the other as their equal, that we're going to have the possibility of a prosperity and for the future of them, and peace and justice as well.
Okay, Professor Michael Lynk, thank you so much for being with us here on TRT World and sharing that insight with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.